see my classmates who born here, like other ethnic, like and white and other ethnic groups, and then they write really a lot, and extra comment they write a lot, and then sometimes I pick, and then usually I give them 4 and 5, and they give them 2 and 1 and 3. It's totally different, and yeah, so that's a kind of culture is really different, and then I heard that my kids were in high school, and then usually they need kind of a recommendation from counselor and from teachers and or college, and we believe that I know as a student know very well to teachers, and they spend 1 semester or 2 semester and 3 semester, maybe they expecting a good recommendation from teacher, and then they ask them, but one article said more than 70% of our recommendation is negative. It's not positive. Can you believe it? Maybe just a good relationship doesn't mean that we can get a good recommendation from them. Based on how, so sometimes and when you ask some recommendation and they don't know really well, but even though you take 1 class, 2 class, and then they ask a student, oh, can you tell me your background, all kind of stuff, to write down the recommendation based on that one. Yeah, that's the thing. So student can evaluate teachers and kind of and why do we have to do like this, and then there is kind of questions maybe we can see in this class. And today, so we're gonna talk about basically assessment and teacher evaluation. What is assessment? And we sometimes last week I kind of differentiate from the evaluation, but some of them is like they don't much kind of discern about them, distinguish between assessment and evaluation. So here is, and usually when they say it, and then as you know, as education evaluation, and education assessment is systematic process of the finding out about student knowledge, experience, skills, and belief using the empirical data. Systematic kind of process, right? To finding out about the student knowledge, experience, and skills and benefit. It means that like assessment, like a small assessment, like a test, and then a little bit different. This one is like evaluation, whole package, right? It's not, you cannot, sometimes skill cannot take by the test, right? And last week I really emphasized on the kind of how can we know how much student understand the daily objectives, right? And then one of the ways is the kind of assessment, right? So based on the feedback. Feedback means that maybe activities and maybe tests and quiz and any kind of stuff, right? But today's kind of assessment is kind of understanding is a whole package, right? So assessment is goal is quantify and document how much a student knows, right? And you can put everything is each from the test, from the homework, and from the uh, any kind that if you have rubrics, right? Performance rubrics, grade rubrics and performance rubrics, and then you gotta have everything is put in the system, and then you can see. So assessment is kind of integral part of the instruction as the determine whether or not the goal of education being met or So when you assess a student and maybe only way they usually kind of grading is like when you go to college, how can you assess student? Test, mostly. Maybe group project is a part of the test, work. Maybe presentation. Usually, when I was in college here, and then there is a group project and presentation after that, and test. That's all. Maybe paper is there. You gotta write a paper. And so it means that they try to see the critical thinking, and they wanna see your skills, and they wanna see your knowledge and how much you can use in your practical setting, and then how you work with your court like this, right? And that's why that's the integral part of the instruction. And assessment affect decision about grade and placement and advancement and instructional lead and curriculum and some cases of funding. Right? That's right. Grade, total grade. And okay, he is regular class, and he needs to come make up the class, and he's advanced class, and maybe he needs more instructional, and then overall students kind of achievement level is low, and then you got to adjust the curriculum. This one is really overachieved, and then this part, this class, and then maybe we can touch in previous class, and we can skip, and then we can replace in fact on the curriculum, effect on the curriculums. Maybe, and it depends on the program. There is my kids district, and also there is also I don't remember the word, and gate program is there, and always, and they in the second grade or something like second grade, and they have tests, and then they decide and who are the qualified, and there's a certain criteria is there, and then if they have defined who are in gate program, and then even though depends on the school, but in my kids district, and there is no specific benefit. And if they are in gate program, and then they have a special work, and you got to do something extra, but there is no in higher level, but it's related to the funding from the government. And these are how many students are identified gate program, and then government fund kind of give them funds to school, like this. Related to funding, interesting, right? So, and there is kind of assessment inspire us to ask 3 hard questions through the assessment. Are we teaching what we think? And what we think we are teaching? As a teacher, maybe there is a lot of topics, and then are you teaching what we are thinking? Maybe different things. That's assessment. And are still learning what they are supposed to be learning. Right teaching material is there, and students supposed to learn this one, but if they don't learn, and Especially, I don't know, I'm really skeptical about moral education, especially public education. Public, not the public ethics, I mean. I know it's a society change and different generation, but still, for my convenience and for my comfortable, sometimes it kind of disrupt others. For my convenience, for my comfort and comfortableness, and then I have to make some people make others discomfort. Opposite way. Just think about the driving on the freeway, and maybe a lot of people get traffic and still try to, a lot of cars behind in the line. They are busy too, especially in the morning commute hour. But a lot of cars try cutting. They know where it's cutting. But a lot of people try to people sometimes try to cut in and make more traffic, and the times are more delayed, but they don't care about it. Okay, I'm cutting in and then I'm fine. I don't want to wait a long line. What about others? They are stupid, they are foolish, and that's why they lined up for their turn. And we gotta teachers supposed to teach right things they think to teach, and student are still learning what they supposed to be learning. And is there any way teach subject better, thereby promoting better learning? That is kind of give some ideas through the assessment. What about teaching? What about learning in any other better way? So, and there is the types of the educational assessment. Today assessment is kind of put together with the evaluation. And assessment based on what they what they shows, right, based on the feedback, right. We gotta assess the not evaluation, assess the student, and then to clarify the assessment is kind of different from evaluation, right, and based on their feedback by kind of expression or by behavior and by their test and any kind, right? But still make whole things. And based on that one, we can evaluate, right? And there is a lot of different ways of the assessment. Depends on what kind of education you guys are doing, like this. And some of them is already professional setting, and assessment is different. But there is I wanna share a little bit common assessment that usually school use it, and real setting, people use it in real setting. There is alternative assessment. Alternative assessment is what? Evaluation method that measures the student ability based on how they use newly acquired knowledge to execute tasks. And try to measure their new skills, how they use it. And so this is a kind of instructor-led method of assessment, is especially tailored the student need and student abilities. right? It's a kind of customized to students. So instructor should test, and then the instructor get them involved in complex tasks where they need to kind of leverage what they have learned. And so alternative assessment method help the teacher to have a full grasp of the student's level of proficiency in a subject. Just think about, and they learn division, right? And then just they can do one-digit division and two-digit division or three-digit divisions. Oh, what about the point? What about the and that kind of so, and usually teacher knows the basic teach the basic concept, and then let them do it in the real setting, right? New knowledge, and how can they respond? And this is kind of what is good for this assessment. And alternative assessment is objectively align with expected learning outcomes. Okay, so I teach this one and division, and okay, I want them to at least do two divisions. How they can do? There is a kind of you have expected learning outcomes there. And you can test it whether they could do or not. 그래서 one digit division is it's maybe they can do it, but they learned two digit division, and how can they do? You can test it. So he pays attention to the quality of work from the student, not just and how much you can know and how can you apply. Maybe sometimes the student understand the concept, but they don't apply to the problem solving. It means that kind of ability of application is a little bit low. Maybe they don't completely understand the principles, right? Either one. That one is kind of advantage of alternative assessment, and then this advantage of alternative assessment can be time consuming. Everyone is different. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes too hard, and sometimes it's very subjective based on what kind of subject you guys doing. It's not objective. It's just very subjective, right? That is one of the assessment that usually use. And another one is authentic assessment. This is the realistic method of evaluation that places a student in complex and real life situation. This is a real life situation. That one is the alternative is what they learn new knowledge, and then how to use the new knowledge. But this one is kind of the authentic assessment is place the student in the real complex life situation, and then ask them to use their knowledge to solve them. Maybe it's hard to mathematics skills to real life. Maybe you can do it, and then use your kind of head on as calculations, not just without any calculator and without any pencils like this. And then the student put the knowledge into work, and they gain a clear understanding of the course content and subject matter, like for the science class, how to use the microscope, right? and how can you proceed all stuff. So I never used the microscope for the biology because we just learn from the textbook, only with the textbook, and then I never use it. But when I when I went to college, I went back to college here, and then I took the biology class, and then it's a totally new language. I never get to do vocabulary and new language, right? It's really hard. And the first time I learned how to use the microscope, it's hard because it's learning vocabulary and functions. It's a lot of work. And just think about you just came over here, and sometimes your listening is already limited, and then it's really hard, like me. And that's a kind of a test, yeah. And then authentic assessment is all about using one's knowledge to solve the real life skills. And it's not related to the class, not the maybe school education. Not everything is related to the real life, right? It's some of them are really abstract, like a science class, and then maybe give them like a math class and give them some develop your ability and for logics and different aspect of your things, right? And the advantage of the authentic assessment is convert the student to active participation in the educational evaluation process, right? You can see the how student doing in your classroom, right? And what is another advantage is that while helping students to become a better learners, and you also empower the instructor to be better teacher. Okay, you can help them, but they are different, but I should teach in different way. Maybe we can talk about the cross-cultural teaching, and then it was really struggling if we don't know their culture. And that's why you gotta learn and kind of motivate instructor and all. There is a way, another way to teach better way, right? It helps a lot. What about disadvantage of authentic assessment? It's a highly subjective, and it makes it difficult to grade students using authentic assessment method because it's a real life setting. Okay, how can you divide the grade? Okay, if he does this one, and then what? It's a 70% or 50% in this level? I don't know. Maybe maybe insight of life is different, and then they approach a different way. It's hard to do that, right? That's what I'm saying. Authentic assessment typically require detailed and personalized and specific feedback, which can ask a lot of time. In the it's not just 5 minutes, some quizzes there and then answer, not really though, right? Especially you have a large class, and how can you evaluate? And just think about my daughters and take the EMT class. Do you know EMT mean the emergency medical technician? Emergency medical technician who driving the ambulance and respond, first responder. And then they teach the basic knowledge, and then they train them what's the basic skills. And then they test the basic skills. Everybody one by one, exactly how they do it. Just think about if classmates class size 10 people and 10 people and everybody take their way, right? They can do real life setting and people kind of pretend to be a patient or right, and then they use their classmate and create a kind of a real life setting and then take the test. And how can do then they do and like a lot of different skills. And my daughters take a test is like 2 days, 3 days, whole classmate. Yeah, so different. What about summative assessment? Summative assessment is I want to make sure that this assessment is kind of an evaluation, right? Based on the kind of feedback, but they put all together and make systematic and package to evaluate student. And summative assessment is what? Summative evaluation is the most common method of classroom assessment. It means that schools use it the way. Maybe there is a kind of a value is there, but still. And this method of evaluation involves using standard or rubric to grade student performance at the end of the training course or the program or class. And there is a specific, maybe it's a lot of group projects and maybe a lot of skills, and there's a specific rubrics, right? Performance rubrics. And if you meet this level, and then you're gonna B. If you meet this level, and you're gonna A like this. And that is a common assessment. So instructors will compare what student knows with what was taught and use the result of it to determine whether they move to the next level of course. Like if they fail, they're gonna take again. Maybe if you got F and then no, you fail. If you got D, maybe you can replace like this. If you have a C or pass like this. So, validity or reliability or practicality are the most common figure of the summative assessment, and they use a lot of different multiple process and to evaluate student, right? Assess a student. And so, example of summative assessment include the end of a term examination, like a standard test and creative portfolios. And if you have an art school, and then you gotta make your portfolios, and maybe different things, and then things there, and you gotta make your own drawing, and then standardized testing in the like SAT, ACT, like this. But the end of the term examinations, final exam and midterm exams like this, right? There's a summary. A final exam is a summative exam, but not every final. Some of them use it at summative, and not every professors, right? And the advantage of the summative assessment is what? Standardized method of assessment. But that plays an important role in moving students from one level to the other. Based on the standard assessment, and then you can go to the next level. You are not ready, and you can stay one more semester, one more week like this, based on the assessment. And what about the disadvantage of the summative assessment? It can kind of discourage students, okay, right? Especially when the results not turn out to be what they want, and what happened. and they try to cheat. That's a big problem. And students really frustrated and they cannot handle it and they lost what? Interested on studying and their eyes turn to another way to satisfy themselves. Yeah. That is summative assessment. What about the formative assessment? Another way of formative assessment is what? It's an ongoing educational evaluation method where the instructor is assessing the student knowledge during the learning process. It's an ongoing one. It's not a test like a midterm. It's not maybe final, but just think about how he behaved in class and like how he participated in class and then how he speak, right? Like this. So if allows the instructor to sharp monitor student progress as they move from one learning to pace to another, you can see how they different. And then sometimes you gotta if you have a chance to observe others and from the beginning to like learning English. I don't know how long you guys stayed in United States, and then, but if you are previously exposed to English and you learn and you had opportunity to have English education, and then you don't have any problem speaking English, right? In proficiency level. But like me, and even though I learned English is about almost 10 years, and junior high school and high school and college is almost and 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then I cannot understand what they say. There's a listening problem, hearing problem, and maybe I can read, I cannot speak because I cannot hear. That's why I cannot speak. But I know some grammars. I can read and understand. But nowadays it's a different way. But if you come here and then you spend more time and taking class, and then you can see how you developed your English skill. Maybe and during the years of class, and then teacher gonna figure it out how your English developing little by little. That is one of the example. Maybe and you take the Beijing ESL class, and then you can show the little bit improvement, and then another level from the beginning and the end is totally different, right? That is assessment. So formative assessment does not compare student performance against some standard or rubrics. It's not okay, here is performance rubric, and then based on that one compare you got A, you got A, you got a B, and you have not that way. So formative assessment outcomes are non-graded, and it means that they do not produce they don't produce a result and define the learner's performance. And it's not grade based though, but still you can see how they change in speaking English, right? You can see how their behavior is changing like this. Like there's some examples of pause, entry, and exit slips, and interviews and focus group are the popular example of formative assessment. And so It's not you cannot create it, and but still you can observe, you can see, and just think about if you ever conduct a conduct an experiment in the classroom, and then there is a specific group that you assigned, but they don't tell them, but you can see how they change, how they do behave, how they learning, all kind of stuff. But you cannot say that, oh, this A because of B, you deserve to get A because you did this one. You don't, not like this, but see the process. What about the advantage of formative assessment? Now, formative assessment empowers the instructor to make data-driven decision. So you can observe little by little, and kind of you have your own data, not based on the test, right? But it helps instructor to adjust the teaching method to better suit the need of the learners. Which way is better for this student? And you can, if you understand the class environment, and then which one is better? Just think about people who had low socio-economic status, and people who have middle class socio-economic class. What about upper class socio-economic class? It's totally different. Totally different. Parent interest is different, and versus time and amount of money invested, they invested in education is different. But what about disadvantage of formative assessment? You know, try the ongoing one, and teacher kind of see and tons of time to evaluate. It's a lot of time consuming, right? And so teacher needs to implement several methods to effectively monitor student progress as they can. Not just only one way, right? It's a lot of time. What about the more formative assessment? You incorporate in the learning process less time there is for actual teaching, right? So you have more time, more prepare more and see more time and progress your learning process, but less of time there is for actual teaching. It is hard to deliver, and and just one is kind of imbalanced though, right? So kind of observation and processing take long, and there is a class of objectivity. You got to teach all kind of stuff, and but if you want to see whole progress little by little, and try to help, and then time is kind of less and less. You cannot teach. And depends on how you approach the student. And you can direct assessment or the indirect assessment. And direct assessment, and then based on how they give you feedback, like written work. And like this, written work, and then demonstrate the knowledge of important content on an exam paper. Written is kind of standardized test, like writing test and multiple choice test like this, and then show analysis and application and synthesis and evaluation capabilities. It's easy, right? And displaying the writing skills and proceed in reflection, they learn, how they learn, when they learn, why they learn, you can kind of have time to reflect. That's a written work. And what about portfolios of a student? That's a direct, same thing. And their work is assessed by systematically using rubric, right? Maybe if you really focus on the papers, and then there's a rubrics, and then they have structures and contents and grammars and all kind of stuff, and researches and using the other paper, all kind of rubric, standards are there. And then what about and if you it is for your primary education, and there is test activities and all kind of the assessment is there, and then you can make a portfolio and put together. See one of the student in your eyes, right? And maybe the portfolio is kind of student work, and then maybe evaluate to determine the student learning over time. Okay, what is the effective waveform? What kind of learning style he has, like this. They have maybe kind of compose student-based work, and that one is kind of portfolio, and you can see everything, and encourage students self-reflection. So how come you're doing very well in this way, and why this one is so hard for you, and right? They know. Okay, there is kind of a visual audio recording of the oral presentation or performance with the self peers, and instructor evaluating using a rubric, and many include recording of a subsequent performance to document improvement. That's the direct way that you can see, right? That's assessment based on how they do, and you can evaluate based on that one. And what about and maybe you can use a capstone project and field service learning project, and you can performance on in-class test, and maybe and presentations. A lot of things that you can use a student and assess, and then you can evaluate based on the assessment. How the assessment is even though a lot of students gives you how they do it in a lot of different ways, and then based on you put all together and assess evaluate students, right? But even though we try to do the direct assessment, like visual and audio recording, my daughters, they do have group work and presentation, and then sometimes teacher doesn't know who is really contributing in the classroom under the project, who is not, right? So I observed my kids group project, and someone they sitting together but they doing the other work, right? But they are sitting together but their mind is different way. I know someone is really good and really smart, and someone is not, but they willing to work together. Someone is really smart, but they don't care about group project. They do their own things, but they have credit, full credit. That is that is a kind of it's really not good part. It's a good intention, but good intention, but still people take advantage of it. What about the indirect assessment? Maybe you cannot observe it, but usually based on the response, like a survey, right? Maybe course evaluation that you created, get the information from the student. Always. What is good? What is about what you learn? What is like a lot of different way, and then you can get to the kind of idea how they think about it. Curriculum and syllabus analysis. That is you cannot see, it's not directly related to the student, but just think about curriculum and syllabus analysis with the student performance, right? Performance, yeah. And what about the external reviewers? Maybe we cannot see, but other people who maybe vice president or president, and then see and review the whole thing. So there's a lot of assessment forms, and maybe they can, student can, teacher can do, or student can do, right? And mean that student self-assessment form. So try to Google, and then there's a lot of forms. You can use it. So I want to make sure that assessment is like, it seems like when you're here, and then like evaluation. But we already said that assessment is what? Based on the feedback of a student, how they doing, right? And evaluation is what? Maybe a lot of different ways of feedback you can put together, and you with your observation, and then you could evaluate the student, right? That evaluation, total evaluation. So assessment is a little bit different, but it sounds like kind of evaluation. When I go over with you guys, it sounds like evaluation, but I want to kind of make sure. Okay, that is student assessment, right? Last time we just think about based on the test, and then we didn't think about evaluation, but today, and we sort of how can we assess the student, right? A lot of different ways there. And then maybe if you can get syllabus, and then there is and if you get percentage there, and A, B, C, D, and there's a basic test, and then we don't have much about rubrics about only about the test, right? And then there is no any about papers, and any about the class participation, and like that, and group projects. So let's go. Another one is kind of we think about how can we make classes effective and based on the student assessment, right? And another one is kind of how can we make really make class effective by a teacher evaluation. And teacher evaluation is as we assess the student, and then and then based on the assessment, and then we can evaluate the student like this, and then based on how they teach, and then how they got involved with the student, and all kind of stuff, and then we can based on the kind of assessment, and then we can evaluate the teachers. Right? We can see. Here is a basic history about you can see how kind of evolved was the teachers and evaluation, and then it means that how education system is a little bit changed with the history. And here is around 1600 and 1800. Wow. Evaluations focus on shift to teacher training. Wow. Helping teacher improve. That is around the 1600 and 1800 between. And then there is a simple inspection by the community leaders. There is no any, okay, maybe community leaders, maybe city mayors, and who in kind of charge in education like this. And that is 1600 and 1800. What about the mid 1800 and then administrative models of oversight controls, and then there's a kind of see how can do oversight and then try to see how they doing. And but like early 1900, like observation and feedback, literally okay how we can see how they doing and then give them feedback. There is a way that we can evaluate and but schooling shifted to focus on what? Social efficiency, preparing students for the workforce, and then like it's not just knowledge. Really. If you just think about Roman period and then what is the educations, like how can they raise that kind of military, right? Quality of a military. So like this, and then that one is really focused on that one, evaluation, schooling shifted to focus on the social efficiency. Around this early 1900, and then what about the mid and the end of the 60s and the what? Evaluation shifted to multiple phases of observation and feedback and components with the principles. Still, observation is really important, but multiple phases observation is not just once, and how they do. There is an objective criteria and measurement is there. It's a pretty organized, like other like science, right? We're pretty organized, like okay, there is a specific and a measurable, right? But look at this around the 70s. There's a clinical supervision model, and there is kind of clinical supervision model is that it's a medical, it's from the medical it's from the medical field, and then just think about intern resident when they go into a hospital, they just got out of school and not many know how to do, right? And there is a attending, and there is a who already went through, and then who had kind of expert knowledge of them and attending, and then what is it? And another kind of who finished attending and they become finished in residency, and then they need to go to another 2 to several years to be attending. I don't remember the terminology certainly. And then, they were some attending model, they trained the resident, and they follow the resident and they round together and they learn, and then they observe how they're learning. Like they model, they got from the medical field, and then just think about clinical supervision model is who is really experienced experienced the teachers, and who just a rookie, like 1 year, 2 year old, and they kind of give them instruction and observation, and then they talk and then evaluate like this, right? Analyze and evaluate feedback like this. That is a clinical supervision model, and there's around 90s, right? and try to evaluate the teachers. But that's why around the 60s and 70s and then 60s and evaluation shifted to multiple phase observation and to a specific way. Around early 2000, what happened? Modern teacher evaluation models and 2000 as a time and was evaluation shifted to it was a measure of the student achievement and feedback from the student and parents. It's just more complicated nowadays, right? Because a lot of parents just involved in school work as a PA, parent-teacher kind of community, and they kind of give them some feedbacks, right? It's kind of it's from the student, it's a lot of different, they try to see different aspects to evaluate student. Just to see the whole how around early and 1800 and mid 1800 and then early 19 and mid and then 60s, 70s, and 2000 and then really change, but more systemic life, right? Long time ago, it really depends on the teachers. We don't know the teachers' qualities, and just to give them basic education and depends on the teachers' ability. And nowadays, no. We need, we know that the teachers' ability, we trust the teachers' ability, but sometimes it's hard to communicate with the children, and even though they are teachers, right? And I can see that kind of a case, though, and that's why getting evaluation is a little bit different nowadays. So why are teachers evaluated? Why do we have the teacher evaluations? Because we don't trust the teachers? Probably. Maybe they have ability, but give them too much favoritism to other students. Who is a teacher's pet? Who is not a teacher's pet? Here is a basic two reasons. First of all, think about teachers' quality. Teachers' quality is positively linked with student learning. So I'm a pastor, and some are really qualified for the ministry, some are not. I think it's the same in the education, same as in the education. And some teachers are really qualified and have a compassion for students and willing to help, but some are not. Some of them really have passion and but some of them kind of lack of skills, lack of knowledge, how to teach a student, how to understand the student. Maybe later on, maybe teachers are good for my life, and then I saw them, a couple of them, get a job, as a job, right? Same thing. Same thing in the church situations. So it means that take one of the job without the purpose of the education, purpose of the kind of pastoring, and we cannot see the qualities. We cannot see qualities. That's the job, right? And because the one's evaluation helps to see the teacher's quality, because it's closely linked with the student learning. This is a primary reason to develop, implement, and continue to improve teachers' evaluation systems, right? And how can we see the teachers' qualities? There is some way that they are highlighted, and then here is some. We can see the teacher's education and experience. It's not all about it, because some of them don't have a PhD in education, but still it's really competent, right? Really can teach very well and take care of kids very well, but also we can see education and experience and related to teachers' quality. What about whether classroom environment or whether classroom environments are uniquely conducive to learning and achievement at high levels? How can the classroom with daily lesson plan? How can manage the classroom like this? What about the capacity to create a positive relationship to the student? And there's if you really love and help, and because I am interested in it, you can incubate a lot of idea and then have a creative way to teach a student. But other than that, maybe just to teach them whether they understand or not, they're not sensitive. And I heard, and now it's public high schools and public schools education, right? They don't learn a lot. That's why when they go to college, like a private school, and then think about private school, high school, private school education from and little kids, they develop their critical thinking and writing, and they kind of really competent and understanding of the whole, the societies, and understanding what's going on, and then they're really competent in presenting, in speech like this, and then, but public school is not that much, right? Depends on where you are placed in the class, and then if you are honors class, and if you are in just a regular class, it's totally different. And there's the same textbook. If you are in regular class, I heard from my kids in regular class, and they covered half of the book. If you are honor class, and then they cover the whole book, it's a different. Anyway, the capacity, the relationship with the student, and what is the effective use of the assessment to drive instructional planning, right? Not just to bring the old 20 years teaching note, but try to evaluate and reflect and assess and reflect, and which one is more effective, because society change and people are changing and culture are changing. But just think about the nature note is not changing. What? So ability to differentiate instructional technique to reach and teach linguistically or culturally diverse student with the learning or the behavioral challenges, right? How can you do that? Nowadays there will be special classes for ADD and autistic class, and but sometimes they are in the same class. What about communication of a high expectation of achievement for all students? How can you do that? Not by discriminating students. How can you motivate students to achieve high? I don't mean that always high achievement is good, but still mean that kind of encourage students to their best, and maybe they can get the best outcome out of their abilities, right? Collaboration with colleagues and communication with the families. And think about, you are not only teachers, but there is other class, and maybe some students are taking this year that and that, and we share the student with the other teachers, right? Teachers share the student with the other teachers, and then they gotta know how they do it, and then they gotta communicate with the other teachers, and then because students taking the other classes, right? What about parents? If we are struggling with studying or other issues, we gotta talk to parents. There is a behavior issue, not just a principal call and come to office, not that one. Yeah, the participation in high quality professional learning. So there is a continuing education, and they are interested in the school willing or sponsor, and they're willing to go like this. And you can see that the teacher's resume, and usually when I have health insurance with HMO, and then we gotta choose doctors, and how can we pick the kind of quality of doctors? Like this, we're gonna see education and experience, how his work, and we can see how whatever is available, and based on that one, we can choose it. Not just by the ethnicity. Oh, he's a Korean doctor, maybe I can communicate in Korean, maybe I can go to Korean doctor. Yeah, that's my generation or my parents' generation, and who came and they cannot speak English, and then they go to Korean doctors, right? Who can speak English. But everybody's not good doctors. Everybody's not a good doctor. Some of them, it's not just a Korean doctor and other doctors, and then my wife is working in the hospital, and my daughter is kind of a candidate. She's finished 2-year medical school, and then she's kind of rotating, and she can meet a lot of physicians. So anyway, and I had to meet a lot of doctors, and I can see how they treat me. Once I have another HMO and with the signal, and then I went to the doctors, and then he's so bad. And what did he say? Oh, my shoulders hurt. And he said, just touch it, and maybe you have too much stress. I don't know how related to stress is my shoulder, but like this, and because if I have HMO, and then if they use X-ray and other stuff, and they're not gonna pay from the government, from the insurance company that much, so they don't want to. They don't want to waste time, because insurance payment is always kind of almost fixed. So keep developing their knowledge, and what kind of the conference they participate, and any different kind of certificate and other stuff, and you can see the whole kind of stuff, and to see the teacher's quality. But this is the one side, but it helps to kind of see who teachers are. And because why do we have a teacher evaluation? And the sound teacher evaluation system is accountability. We have accountability though. Okay, we support you, be a good teacher. Right? That's accountability though. We don't punish them. We can help them to be a better educator in the classroom. That is one of the motive, right? So through the evaluation and maybe own perception is, teacher's perception and own perception is different from other perception, right? Maybe different from principal and administrators and from the students. But maybe teachers say, I'm good, I'm doing well, and students like me, maybe. But when you start from the other side, and then maybe it's totally different. So, how can help the teacher to improve their teaching skills and help a student to improve their learning and achievement, right? That's the teacher's job. I know that's the student's job, and they gotta learn, but sometimes who can motivate, who can teach knowledge and skill at the classroom? Teachers. Here's the way, and teacher evaluation system can have led to improvement in the teachers' workforce. And so that is a purpose, right? That is a purpose, not a punish the teacher, not a disqualify the teacher, right? We're gonna know that. And here is, and then John Haley is best known for his meta-analysis of student learning, and he found out influence how collective teacher efficacy ranks highest on the most recent iterations of the list, and then what is the found was a collective teachers efficacy the highest on the and how can you work together? And it's very, very important things, right? And I know class size is one of the things about what, but another thing is what, and then collective teachers efficacy, and other than teachers' credibility and teachers and clarity like this, and then it affects your student learning. So you gotta know that what is the theory of changing for the student teacher evaluation system, and then why we gotta know why we evaluate teachers, and then we have we need a system like this and keep improve, and then have a better system to evaluate help teachers, right? And then teacher evaluation system and enhance teacher practice and effectiveness in teaching, and how they teach, and like this, and creative ways. And then what about that? So it means that, and if when teachers improve their teaching skills, and when they understand the student better, and the students are learning and achievement is getting better. That's why there is a basic idea about theory about the teacher's evaluation. Here is what is effective teaching result? Yeah. So what is effective teaching? Means that who is the effective teachers? Effective teacher can be effective. Yeah, they can make better outcome, right? And there is kind of a list of the characteristic of effective teachers. And first of all, they are clear about the instructional goals. Okay. From this class, I'm going to teach this one. You're going to know, you're going to learn, and you're going to use this one. Clear. And then for this one, I can take a test every week once we are like this. And also, effective teachers are knowledgeable about the curriculum content and strategy for the teaching. Of course, you gotta know what is the class about. What is the whole curriculum think about, and what is the roles of this class? What is the next? And what is the people, especially in primary education. And it was really hard though. And my daughter was in high school. The district kind of launched like a pilot program about math, and they don't do anything much about there's no homework, and okay, students have ability to learn by themselves, and then they don't push the student, they don't much about tests, and and no homework. So maybe midterm and final. How many students are successful? And grading system is totally different. And then was 90% of the test and 85% of the test saying B. Can you believe it? But they tried for a year and they canceled it. Who are the victim? The student. They don't know much about it without reinforcement, without a proper amount of the kind of attention and kind of reinforcement. Luckily, another year, next year, the teacher, math teacher, about math, and then math teacher knows what happened in this year, my daughter's year in freshman in high school, and then he tried to make up all what they supposed to learn in the before year. We are really appreciated. He put a lot of effort in trying to raise up the class level for the next level. So my wife, I really agree that he's a really good teacher. He understands the student and then try to help them right in the level. Communicate to the student what is expected of them and why. Like maybe individual components, and sometimes if they need more attention, and there's a class time though, right? And you can do it. And what about the effective teachers? Make expert use of existing instrumental material in order to devote more time to practice than enrich and clarify the content. Use the material that existing. Maybe the material more effective than his way, the teacher's way, and then really adopted and used the material. 그렇죠, humble. Don't be stubborn, like, oh, my way is best. Always, a lot of researchers out there, and a lot of ways, a lot of stuff available outside, right? What about knowledgeable about the student and adapting instruction to their needs and anticipating this concept in their existing knowledge? It means they better know who student is, right? And how they do it, how much they understand, not just teaching and move on and on. And what about the teach student the metacognition strategy? It's not just metacognition, it's a little bit maybe use a mental process without any papers, right? And give them opportunity to master them, right? Maybe change higher. So once you guys know the spelling bee, and then they spell out a really hard word, and then every year there is national spelling bee test, right? Spelling bee test. And once it was kind of accidental, and then I turned on the TV and there was some math bee. Do you know math bee? It's not a spelling bee. Wow. They don't need papers, and they write the question and coming out answers right away, and they present the answer. Not the who first, and then they present the answer, and whether wrong or right, and then they use the metacognitions. Higher level, help them to master, and then like plus, minus, plus, subtraction and multiplication and division without any papers and pencils, calculations. It's a lot. And one of the ways I observe I observe a lot from my kids' education. And my kids' school has time test and 30 seconds, and then there's a multiplication and the plus, kind of addition, and there's 10 levels, and multiplication 10 level, and they made 10 level, and they need time test in time, and they need to finish everything. Otherwise, you gotta do it over and over until it pass. That's how help them to kind of use the metacognition and mastery, right? What about address a higher as well as a low level cognition object, right? And which one is a higher, which one is a lower? And so monitor student understanding by the offering regular appropriate feedback. It's not easy though, but I don't know how many teachers are doing that one to every student. Maybe I don't see much students have kind of have that one. And how much maybe they show the testing, and then they show, but they don't know what struggling is for students. That's the public education's limitation. Not everybody, maybe someone doing like that, and maybe it depends on the class, right? Maybe an English class, and give them a lot of feedback on their writing, and there's kind of the encouragement here and there, and I can see that one, but I don't know other class. What about integrate their instruction with that in other subject area? You gotta know, and you need to kind of know some other area. Maybe primary school, and then you can do it, but high and maybe in you can kind of, superficially you can do it, but depends on how much we know the other area, but still challenging. But accept the responsibility for student outcomes. Yeah. Sometimes, blame students, late and they don't work hard like that, but still, we gotta know, how they do. That is the effect of teachers. So there is gonna be a effective teachers evaluation. There is a characteristic, but there is how can we measure? And there is some kind of what's the 2018 report by the National Council on Teacher Quality, and there is multiple measures, not just one side classroom, from the parents, from the administrator, from the principal, and from the student. You can kind of get basic opinions, and you can see how they are doing. And from the student surveys, right? And use a lot of different ways, and who is the one spending most time with the teacher, student? Maybe survey, maybe teachers evaluations like this, and then objective measurement of the student growth. And just think about one of the ways that maybe towards average score is going up, but based on the standardized test, not the classroom test, right? And maybe I don't know how. Maybe there is a way that we can see how students doing, and maybe we can see every year, and then California is kind of standardized test from the third year. I don't know. Yeah, there's a standardized test, right? And you consider and what about annual evaluation and observation for all teachers? And maybe we can, from the conference, parent conference, and then you're gonna see and how they teaching, and how they get involved, and all your parents, and how they involved in other teachers, and you can see. And what about professional development type of evaluations, right? How can we develop evaluations? And then what about written feedback after each observations? And there is a lot of way that we can evaluate and teachers, and then and then we can get a basic opinion, and then we can see who is effective teacher or not. That is about teachers evaluation, and that is about what is a student assessment today. And assessment is a student assessment based on the student's feedback. Maybe that is a test, presentation, and other activities from the student feedback. What about the teacher's evaluation? Why we are doing that? What is the criteria? How can we? What is a good characteristic of teachers? And a lot of maybe I don't know which one is perfect and which one is effective, most effective, but depends on the stage and depends on the schools. And then, but I hope that how can we how can we evaluate and get an assessment objectively? So a lot of ways that even though the teacher kind of assess the student and then based on their conception during the classroom, and maybe based on their test and based on based on the class participation, it's hard to understand whole of as a whole, right? It's hard, but we gotta understand them, right? People are really complicated, and in certain in certain situation, and they are react or behave in different ways, right? Sometimes, we don't, when we assess a student, and then not based on what they want, but try to understand, as a student are. Maybe some of them is really behind on some subject, but they are really excellent in the other one, right? But depends on the society though. I grew up with everything is evaluated by the test. They don't think about people's skills. They don't think about other things. Only was based on the school education test. What you learn, Korean and English and math and science and music and art and like this. And sitting in the classroom, and there is no much activities, and just a kind of rote kind of education, right? And what teacher said, and you gotta understand, memorize, and reflect on your ability on the test, and you are evaluated there. They don't think about other area of the people's abilities. But nowadays it's different, but still America is the same. When you go to college, and they see what you have. Basically, numbers. If you wanna go to, think about if you wanna transfer to Harvard, and then example, and what is they are looking for. If you get a B and C and no A, it's hard to transfer Harvard. Maybe they consider your situation, but at least you gotta show the excellence in certain academy, first academy, and certain area that you are interested. And they're gonna consider whether they're gonna accept your transfer or not. Try to see a lot of different area, but when you go to college entrance, and then they think about in America, so ethnicity. You are Asian or white or black or Latino. It's a different criteria. And your socioeconomic status, they consider. And the number considered. Right? So, and GPA and SAT scores and standardized test scores, and that is one way that see the student ability objectively. Not always. One of the ways. So a lot of people they think that America has a lot of opportunity, and it's easy to higher education, but on the other side, I already told you, depends on your social or economic level, the education level is different. Low socioeconomic level and middle and socioeconomic level, and upper socioeconomic level is totally different. Amount of time, amount of money, amount of resources are different. That's why, and they try to consider all things, but it's not always fair, and but still we gotta accept it, right? And there's one of the issues that relate to the student ability, regardless of the student ability, and I don't know how teachers show this kind of teaching and draw out the ability, and then they can show the ability. But that's the teacher's skills, and that's the teacher's role, and that's why. And we need to kind of quality of teachers, right? Quality of teachers. And nowadays it's kind of related to politics, and then getting harder and harder. Now maybe that's I don't know how much I can throw out, and maybe we can talk about later. And today we talk about assessment, and based on the assessment we can evaluate our student, right? And that one is but the assessment should be systematic, and teachers evaluations supposed to systematic, and 70s and 1980, 100, and 20th century, 21st century is totally different, right? So we need to know where we are, and we need to know what we are expecting from teacher, and then we gotta we need to participate to also for the teacher to be effective teacher in the classroom. All right, that's the lectures, and then that one is kind of open evaluation about student, assessment about student, and then evaluation about students. So that is another side of the related to education. It's really dispensable, and because we can keep improve and in was a student learning achievement, right? Relate to them, and so that's why we need to consider it, and we need to think about when we talk about education. All right, and I hope that you guys can try to think about your education.